to my kitchen. Now, Easter isn't that far away, so for this week's video tutorial, I thought I would do an Easter egg tutorial. Now, anything geometric has been so popular, so when I saw this geometric Easter egg mold, I just had to try it out. Now, in this tutorial, I'm showing you how to create this ombre effect on your Easter egg, and it just makes this one look like a giant pink diamond. I then finish off the egg with this really pretty purple bow at the bottom. Okay, let's get started. For my Easter eggs, I'm going to be using this geometric Easter egg mold by Cake London. Now, this is a 3-part system. So you've got the main part for the chocolate shell. You've got this soft plastic piece which slots inside, and the back goes on. So it makes it so easy to make your chocolate shells. Now, Cake London have kindly given me a 10% off code for all of you. So to get 10% off your first purchase on any of their chocolate molds, head over to their website and enter the discount code Cakes by Linz at the checkout. Now, this mold, whether you're keeping it as a half shell, maybe to add into treat boxes, or you're adding 2 halves together to create a full Easter egg, the size of this mold measures 15 centimeters in length and 8.5 centimeters across at the widest point. Now, this one at the bottom has 350 grams, so that is the total chocolate you're going to need to create a full Easter egg with 2 halves. Because we only have half a shell, I'm going to be making this in 2 pieces. So for each half, I'm going to need 175 grams of chocolate. I'm going to be using white chocolate. First thing you're going to need to do is temper your chocolate. Now, chocolate comes tempered, but as soon as we melt it, unlike candy melts, you need to re-temper it. If you don't temper it, your chocolate could bloom and you end up with small little white dots all over the surface. You also get quite a dull finish, and if your chocolate isn't tempered, it sometimes becomes really hard to get it to set, so it remains nice and soft. We're looking for a chocolate that has a great snap to it. So in order to temper my white chocolate, I'm going to take a few pieces of that out. Now, you want to hold back around 1/3 of your chocolate. Now, to temper the chocolate, you want to start by melting it, and as I only have a small amount, I'm going to do this in the microwave. So I'm going to pop it in the microwave for intervals of around 30 seconds, bringing it out after 30 seconds, giving it a good stir and checking the temperature with my thermometer. What we're looking for is a temperature to reach 40 to 43 degrees Celsius. Once it's reached temperature, even if you have a few pieces of chocolate that are unmelted, I'm going to take it out and just stir those through. To temper the chocolate, we want to cool the temperature down. So I'm going to take a few pieces of that unmelted chocolate and add these to my mixture, continually stirring until all of those pieces have dissolved. I can then add some more, and we're just looking for the temperature to reduce down to around 27 to 30 degrees. Once it's reached temperature, your chocolate is now tempered and ready to use. Now, you can add it straight into the mold just like this. So I'm going to take my mold, take the back off, and take off that soft insert. And I don't know if you can see, inside of the mold, there's a line that runs all the way around, and this is how much chocolate you need to add. Now, you could do it one color. I want to make mine slightly ombre, and I'm going to be using 2 shades of pink. So my favorite color mill colors, the rose and the raspberry. So starting with some of that lighter pink. Now, when it comes to coloring chocolate, you do need to use an oil-based color. A lot of food gels are water-based, and if you add any water to chocolate, it's going to make your chocolate seize, and it goes sort of crumbly, so you wouldn't be able to add it into your mold. Now, I'm going to take my mold, and I want to start with a lighter color at the top. So I'm just going to take a tea towel and just place that at the back just to help it stay with that point going forward, and just add in 2 tablespoons. I'm then going to take my raspberry and add that into my chocolate, and then add 2 tablespoons of the darker pink. I'm then going to add more of that colour to give me quite a dark pink. Add that in, just keeping an eye on how much chocolate you've added. Now, as it is now, we've got quite straight lines. So I'm going to take quite a wide paintbrush where we've got that join, run it through, and we're trying to mix those colours together so we get an ombre effect. And you want to make sure you're going all the way down to the base of our mould. is just mix it together. Now, another great thing about these molds is they're see-through. So you can just hold your mold up slightly, have a look underneath and just check how well it's mixed. So if you can see areas that need a little bit more mixing, you can just go in with your paintbrush. When you're happy with how that's looking, I'm gonna take the middle of my mold, push that down, take the back and push that on. I can then flip it over and just make sure all of that chocolate is coming to the edge. So just use my finger to work that round. And we can then pop our mold into the fridge. After around 15 to 20 minutes, I've taken this out of the fridge. So I'm gonna start by removing the back piece. I can then take out that soft plastic middle. Now I'm gonna break off some of that excess chocolate and then turn it over and that just falls out. We've got this really pretty half of an Easter egg, which has this geometric pattern on the outside. And as you can see, we've got the dark pink at the bottom and it goes up into the lighter pink. Now, if you were putting these into treat boxes, you could just have half and that would sit nice and flat in a treat box. But if you are gonna have it as a full Easter egg, we are gonna need to create the other half. So I'm gonna melt my chocolate in exactly the same way. I really hope you're enjoying this video so far. If you'd like to see more videos like this and you haven't already, then don't forget you can subscribe to the Kate Spannage YouTube channel. So again, I'm gonna pop this into the fridge just that way round for around 15-20 minutes. And I always find that you know that it's ready as soon as you can see that chocolate is just pulling away from that mold. If you do find that your chocolate just won't release from the molds, it does mean that your chocolate isn't tempered properly. And as you can see, we have this really neat edge and we also get that geometric shape on the inside. Now, if you have any marks where it's been in the mold, just take a dry paintbrush, run that over those. So here we have the two halves to our egg. I'm going to be joining mine together and this is going to give me this really pretty 3D gem. It just looks like this giant pink diamond. So I've got a baking tin and my kitchen blowtorch. I'm going to heat up the surface of that. I can then take one of my shells and just run this over the top, just melting that outer edge. Fit those two together, run my finger along that join, taking off any excess chocolate. So there we've got this giant gem. So you could add your egg into an Easter egg box or you could use it as a cake topper. I'm actually going to place mine on a 5-inch drum board and I'm going to cover this in some white fondant. This is going to allow me to stand my egg up and finish it off with a really pretty bow around the bottom to help me glue my egg into place. I've also melted down a small amount of that white chocolate and just coloured it in the darker of the pink. I've then also got a can of food grade spray ice, which is great for setting chocolate if you need it to dry quickly. Now, I don't want my egg to be coming straight up. I want it to be slightly leaning backwards. So I'm also going to use just a sausage of fondant just to help me hold it in place while I wait for that chocolate to dry. Place some of that chocolate, carefully place down my egg. It's just slightly leaning backwards. Hold that in place. I can then go in with my spray ice, just keeping that fondant there until that chocolate has completely dried. Now, to finish off my egg, I thought it would be really fun just to add a little bow at the bottom. I'm going to be using 50% fondant to 50% gum paste. So I've got 30 grams of gum paste and 30 grams of fondant, and I'm going to mix those together. If you don't have any gum paste, or in this case I'm using the Squire's floral paste, then you can just add a small amount of Tylo powder into your fondant, and this is just going to help it firm up. Now, the reason that I'm mixing these together rather than using a gum paste on its own is just to allow it to stay slightly soft because it is going with our egg. Now, to this I'm adding some of the Colour Splash Violet and also a tiny amount of pink. For my bow, we're going to need 6 pieces. So I'm going to start with the main bow itself, take half of my modelling paste and I'm rolling it out until it's around 2 millimeters in thickness. You then want to cut out 3 rectangles. So they're going to be around 1 inch wide. 2 of the rectangles are going to be 3 inches in length, and the third one is going to be slightly smaller at 2 inches. I'm going to flip my 2 larger pieces over, add a small amount of edible glue onto the end. I've also got a piece of kitchen paper that I've just cut into quarters. Lay this across my first piece and bring that end over on the two edges, and then gonna pull those together to give us the first half of my bow. I'm gonna do the same to the other bit. So those two will just come together. I'm gonna add on a little bit of edible glue. Now the third bit is for the center, wrapping the edge over to give us a nice seam. Work my way down, just going backwards and forwards, and again just folding over, edge slightly on the other side. Add some edible glue, then place this over the top, and then very carefully just flip that over, taking off any excess we don't need. Flip that back, then got this pretty little bow, and I'm going to pop that to one side. Next I'm going to make the tails of my bow, so where you pull it tight. So I've got about a third of what's left, and I'm going to roll this out to the same thickness. So I'm going to do 2 more strips. So these are going to be the same width as the rest of my bow, so around 2.5 inches in length. On one end I'm going to cut out a triangle, and on the other end gather that slightly, a bit like we did with the rest of our bow, just pulling the edges in. And lastly, we're gonna need a strip of ribbon to go all the way around the base of my egg. Now, to work out how wide this is gonna be, I'm gonna bring back in my egg, and I can remove that piece of fondant from the back. Now, if you do find that it still needs a little bit of support, then you could just break off a small amount of fondant and push that into the back. Taking a small amount of ribbon, I'm just gonna wrap this around the front. So I can see it needs to be around 9 inches. So trimming off one side, I'm gonna make this a tiny bit wider than the rest, just so I can get a lot more creases in there. And the same as I did with the middle section of my bow, I'm gonna start just by lightly folding that back. I'm then gonna fold it forward and fold it back on itself. So this is gonna give us like a little sash that has a bit of movement to it. This is going to wrap around the bottom and join at the side. Just fix that into place with some edible glue. Now, as I work around the back, you can open up the ribbon slightly, stick that on, and just take off any excess. As you can see, it's just coming around, just hugging bottom of our egg. The first piece I need to add on is one of my tails. I'm going to add that on where those two pieces join. I've then got the second one, and I'm going to have this coming up onto the egg. Now all we need is the bow in the center. This has been sitting for around 5 minutes, so it has firmed up slightly, but it's still got a little bit of movement. I'm going to use a few balls of the fondant just to hold my bow in place until it's dried. Now I'm going to leave that for around about an hour until it's a lot more firm, so I can remove these pieces. So there we have this really simple Easter egg that looks like a pink diamond, with these colours going from dark pink to light pink at the top with a bow at the bottom. For this egg, I was using the 350-gram geometric egg, and I thought it would be really fun to show you some of the other molds that you can get from them that will be perfect for Easter or just for making for fun. So if you're enjoying the geometric theme, you may have seen me use the geometric hearts in another one of my videos, and if you haven't seen me use this one, I will put a link to the video in the description below. They've also got a geometric diamond shape, and when the two parts go together, you get this nice 3D diamond. And lastly, if you are looking for something specifically for Easter, I absolutely love this 3D Easter carrot mold. Now, please do let me know in the comments below which of these molds you'd love to see in another video tutorial. I really hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial and will be able to use some of these techniques, whether you're making some Easter eggs or you want to learn how to create a bow to add onto your cakes. If you have enjoyed the video, as always, don't forget to give it a like, and don't forget you can also subscribe to the Cakes by Neds YouTube channel. Now, I will put a link in the description below to the Fest Cake London discount code and also all the tools that I've used throughout today's video. So until next time, bye!